MBC has been at your service. Our clients have told us their businesses have been booming, and we found out too. What are you doing about your business? Do you want more clients? Do you want more people to know about the services that you do provide? Do you have a luncheon coming? What about your premieres? Call MBC. Advertise your birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, church program, or request our coverage at your function. MBC, at your service 24/7. Call 832-887-6452 or call 281-888-9502. MBC, your favorite station, sharing African views.
All right, from an entirely different past week, weather-wise, to, yes, I said different already. It has been, for the most part, chilly this week. To the very many stories that have made the rounds, to the downright ugly, to the funny, to the witty, to the apprehensions, to the grass-to-grace stories, to the birthdays and all, we are gracing your screens this morning with Dawn. Yes, we will be furnishing you with all that has happened as much as we can. We'll be serving you with entertainment gist. We'll be serving you with sports stories. Yes. That was a really huge one during the week. My name is Oluwanishola. Good morning. This is Dawn on MBC 43.2. We will be here for the next 50-55 minutes, and we will do the best that we can to set the tone for a fantastic weekend. Prof is here, shaking his legs. I don't know. I feel like he's boiling, and then it's conflicting if he's happy or sad, or I don't know. But, well, he's here. And we'll be here together today to do all that we can to make your Saturday a very, very beautiful one. Prof?
Good morning. Good morning, Houston. You said I'm shaking my leg. Yes, the sports stories are really those that I'm waiting to talk about.
They are hot, and they're still hot. So, yes, like I said, we will be doing all that we can, as always, to share all of these stories with you. Feel free to join in on the conversation. At some point, you will be seeing the phone lines on the screen. You can tweet at us as well. When we come back, we will start the show proper. All right, so for now, we will take some adverts and maybe some music. But when we come back, we will start the show proper. It is still Dawn.
Since MBC has been at your service. That's our African proverb for the day. If a child washes his hands, he should eat with the kings. He should. I don't know why he said he should. If he washes his hands very well,
yes,
he should eat with the kings. What if the king is one who doesn't like to share his food?
What if even the king is not, her hands are not washed? Well, but the Africans, I mean, and we have these proverbs. I mean, this can be interpreted in so many ways.
So many ways.
I think we get the general gist,
Of what that is. I don't know if Abamoro washed his hands very well after he ate with the king, but during the week he was apprehended, yes, by the EFCC. Abamoro, if you aren't familiar with that name, used to be the former Minister of Interior, a former permanent secretary as well, and a director. He was apprehended over the 650 million naira immigration recruitment scandal that led to the death of so very many job applicants in 2014. If you remember that story, it really ate deep into especially the system. At the time, very many youths were, there was so much uproar about that incident. Very many youths died, during that recruitment exercise. So yes, he's been apprehended, mainly because these very many youths, hundreds of thousands of them, had to pay 1,000 naira application fee for what was supposedly it was supposed to be free.
Well, look, the question has remained for all these years. Really, was it a right charge? I mean, because there's some people that said from the ministry that they normally pay for that kind of an exercise because it was held in several centers around the country.
Around the country, yeah.
Now, and the truth is that someone has to pay for that.
No, but okay.
No, I've read so many stories, and there were people that argued, or people that said, yes, you pay for. It's a I don't want to call it a service charge, but that's what it really is. Look, when you rent a space to recruit people.
And then the people who come in there ought to pay for that space.
Well, that has always, we're not sure about what really what happens in the Nigerian system. And I think that was one of the bigger problems that really actually let Jonathan down. There should have been an inquiry into that thing because there were deaths, but nothing happened
until now.
It was really very frustrating. But even now, what is happening is we don't know what they're charging him on yet. He's just been arrested and they said 650 million. We still have to see the charge because there's going to be a murder charge. We don't know, but
we don't know if that would happen truly. We don't know if that would happen truly. All right.
Let's wait and see.
Yeah, moving over from that, there's this Nigerian fraudster as well during the week. We always have these stories every week. I don't know why. And most importantly, in the UK. I don't know why that is. But there's this Nigerian fraudster who has been adjudicated to 4.5 years in prison in the UK. His name is Idris Ogunsonya, and he's been sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for defrauding a number of people out of several thousands of pounds. He's just 29. We understand he was unemployed before. Now I think he has a job now in prisons. He's from the Black Wall Way. He was found guilty of fraud and jailed on Friday at Snaresbrook Crown Court. Until his arrest, he reportedly used to live a really flamboyant life. He enjoyed luxury trips to Dubai in business class and stayed at expensive hotels, including the Burj Al Arab in Dubai. So, why do you have that look on your face?
No, you said
Into Jello, you have it?
Yeah, he lives. A man that doesn't have a job on Fleet Street, spending all that kind of money, and then there's a reason they also do this kind of things. They want to live a high life, a life they cannot
without working for it,
can readily afford from work. So,
all right, that serves him right.
Fraud. And this was banking fraud, I guess.
Yes. So a lot of credit cards are involved and all, but well, that's over with. The telecoms giant MTN, we shared the story last year, and it was quite huge as well. But now they have recompensed the Nigerian government. They've been able to pay about $250 million off of that huge amount that the government asked them to pay. I think they've been able to settle out of courts. They said that this money should suffice for all
their ills.
God bless you, Prof. All their ills.
Now, if anybody can go back and we can roll tape.
Okay.
Of many months back when I said there was no way they were going to pay $5.2 billion.
Too much money.
It didn't make sense. The company makes about $3.7 billion in Nigeria.
Which is their largest market?
Which is their largest market. It's 37% of their entire MTN revenues around the world. And then we expected them to pay 5.2 billion, which is about 1/4 of the Nigerian budget. I gave all these reasons and said they're not going to pay. And I also gave examples of BP, British Petroleum, that was fined about, I think, 20 billion in America. BP has a 600 or 400 billion revenue or 300 billion revenue. I mean, a company, and they were told to pay 20 billion. You know how much they paid on the long run? 5 billion. All the others were written off in taxes. And I gave all these examples that, so MTN isn't going to do that. The government cannot afford to collapse MTN because they employ a lot of people in Nigeria. So 250 million, I still spoke to friends in Nigeria. They're all saying, that's just the beginning. They're going to pay it all. And I said, look, they're not. That's what they're going to pay. Probably that's it. And that's even if they don't allow them write it off also in taxes.
All right. Just as they said as well, they said that pursuant to the ongoing engagement with the Nigerian authorities, MTN Nigeria today, that was on Thursday, made a good faith payment of 50 billion naira. That's about $250 million. In a statement, they said that the money was paid on the basis that this will be applied towards a settlement, which one is eventually, hopefully, arrived at. So that's for that. And like you rightly said, I don't think there's going to be any more money exchanging hands between both parties.
Well, look, I don't care if they pay $500 million. You know, they did something wrong. But what I said from the beginning, and I still maintain it, that you can't charge them out of existence, or you can't find them out of existence, and that's what we're trying to do. I mean, if they were going to pay 5.2 billion, it was over for MTN. It was over, and you can't do that to a company. I mean, even the United States government can't do that to Volkswagen. I mean, they're basically negotiating with them now, because they had almost a similar problem, lying to the government and using false software on the emissions program on their cars in America. So we got to be very careful how we deal with large companies. I mean, large companies run economies. It's as simple as that. Large companies run a country's economy.
All right. On the heels of that, we're still in Nigeria, but this time talking about Olisa Metu, who torn statement. We understand that what was written in that torn statement was very, very explosive. And the ex-president Goodluck Jonathan's name was mentioned in there. The EFCC official who was in court actually narrated the story of what happened that said day, the exact day it is that this happened. He explained how PDP's Olisa Metu named the former president Goodluck Jonathan in the statement he allegedly tore while in custody on January the 12th. At the resumed hearing of the case against Metu at the Abuja High Court, a staff of the anti-graft agency, Junaid, said that Metu admitted that he received a 400 million naira arms money, which was used for political activities, his personal needs as well, and assignments delegated by Jonathan. In his words in court, he says, "My lord, when he concluded writing his statement, which was on 4 sheets of the EFCC statement form, I collected the statement and read over it. I then handed the statement over to my superiors, Musa and Witkas. And when I was handing over the statement, the defendant said he was surprised that he had written that much and that he felt he had given too much information." Was he under a spell?
No, a man is allowed to change his mind. I mean,
and then he requested to see the statements again. He saw that part where he mentioned the ex-president's name and decided to tear that part out.
It's not a crime, you know.
It isn't?
You can recall your statement.
Ah.
I mean, out here, you know, people do write statement and get
and
to
then
court
like, I don't want to say the story anymore.
Well, that I was under duress and all that. People do say that. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, but that's not. I think they are overblowing the fact that he tore a statement. He has to. He didn't write a statement. He didn't agree to anything. You then prove your case. That's what courts are meant for. Prove your case. I mean, how many cases do
you think this will go away anytime soon?
I don't think so. Look, I think there's a deliberate stall on both parts. I mean, even the defense and the, you know, because a lot of these cases don't have what you call a particular law that can catch them. So they are throwing a lot of things against the wall to see if it will work. Now, Metu, he got 400 million from the government or from the president, as he claims so-called statement. I keep saying, is it a crime to collect money from someone?
It is not.
You have to now find something that will catch him. And you know, we'll see. Look, these guys need to be, you know, to be dealt with in some fashion. But I just don't think we have strong enough laws
To do that.
that really can punish them.
All right. If you agree with Prof, please do call our studio lines. We'll be really happy to hear from you. Our phone numbers will be showing on your screen right about now. You can tweet at MBC TV Houston as well. You can tweet at PJ Osage, that's Prof's handle. Mine is at Nishala01. When we come back, we have more to share with you. We probably should be joined with a guest and some videos to share with you. Still Dawn on NBC this morning. Stick around.
tí mò ń kiri lánàá so irú aṣọ náà ni mo wọ̀ lánàá gbà yín so ẹni yẹn wá rí mi ó pè mí pé òun rí mi lórí Facebook pé ṣé èmi náà lélẹ̀ mo ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó ní madam dẹ̀ ń wá mi pé sí mo mọ ilé yín dẹ̀ ní mi mọ ilé ọ̀dọ̀ yín ló wá ní tó bá ti dè ní kí wọ́n.
All right, so this young lady you just saw a clip of, her name is Olajumoke Orishaguna, and she used to be a young bread seller. She walks right through a photo shoot of T.Y. Bello's photo shoot that was supposed to feature Tiny Temper. She walks right by that photo shoot on the streets of Lagos, and it wasn't planned, but it turned out to be one of the most beautiful photos in the shoot. All right, so after this shot was taken, T.Y. Bello goes to a studio, wants to do some editing, and finds this pretty face, and like, you know what? Something just sparked up, and the hunt for Olajumoke started on Twitter. It was huge for about a day. You just heard her talk. If you don't understand Yoruba, she just said that she was just walking past. She had on the same attire she had on the previous day of the shoot, the second day. And this Aboki just walks up to her and says, I have seen your photos on Facebook. My Oga wants to see you. She wants to meet with you. She said at some point, Olajumoke said at some point that she was really very scared. Maybe she spoiled Madam's quote-unquote photo shoot. But apparently, T.Y. Bello turned out to be her messiah, angel. And from then, it has been a typical grass to grace story for her. She barely speaks English, little or no English at all, and she has been able to land endorsement deals, a modeling contract. She's been on the cover of major magazines in Nigeria and has been featured on CNN. Fantastic story, fantastic story. In fact, particularly, I think about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, there was this symposium, or I don't know what it was exactly, where she was supposed to be one of the speakers there who would speak to people. I found that I'm like, is this not becoming too much? Has she gotten to that level yet?
Well, I mean, the one coming to speak to people, I don't think she's ready for that. But everything that has happened to her is what almost everybody kneels down every morning to pray for.
Pray for.
You know, may I come across someone that will, you know, change my path, you know. And someone has changed the young lady's path. I mean, I know there's a lot of debate now whether, like you just said, is this too much? Is this even becoming overblown? And
about 3 or 4 major endorsement deals.
But I don't think so. It happens here. It happens in America all the time.
Okay.
You know, that's just, it's the nature. Look, the people giving her all these endorsements are also running, you know.
After the pocket as well.
Yeah, they're also running with it, you know. So there's nothing wrong with it. I just hope that, you know, with her husband and their 2 kids, that they can make something of this, you know. But just like we even see in America here, most of the time, you know, it's like...
Questions have been raised, actually, about their marriage, about their union, like, with this your newfound fame, or are you going to be able to stay true to yourself and, you know, be the woman you used to be, especially with your hubby, because both of them speak little or no English at all?
Well, that should... Look, maybe that should really be more of our concern, that how did they go through our school system? I mean, I think we're supposed to be taught in English, that they can't speak. I mean, she can't speak any English at all.
At all.
Maybe that should be what should bother. But outside that, I think everything she's getting, she deserves. You know, that's just the nature of what happened to her. She deserves it. I just hope that they can manage it well, because these things usually don't last.
Yeah.
She's not going to be a model in the next 10 years from now. But if she manages it well, she
should.
might be someone that is finding other models down the road.
This story, her story actually reminds me of Iman's story, but moving over from this stimulating, stirring, heartening story, we are going to some sexcapade gone wrong. You know I like to bring the stories, Prof. And I know you don't like them, but I am going to throw them in anyway.
I mean, we're in Lent now. I mean,
okay, you know what? I'm going to put a lid on that, and let's do this Olise's story.
Yes.
Yes, because I know that you're like, I really need to talk about this. That happened. I don't think, I'm not big on sports, but I don't think there's any coach I know who has gone on social media to tender his resignation and tell Nigerians, you know what? I'm not doing this job anymore. I'm done with it. Did you find that normal? Was that professional enough?
Well, no, I mean, look, with social media and the way technology is in today, you can I mean, we've seen people that resign by bringing in a music band, you know. Everybody is resigning in funny ways now. But Olise resigned at a time that was
after 7 months.
Least expected.
And very many misunderstandings, very many controversies and fights.
Look, first of all, when he was hired,
not
too many people believed in him.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm not going to say I was one of those that believed in him, but I did write an article in gold.com that really said, look, let's give the young man a chance. that he's in football circles. He's pretty well educated. He has a pro license from UEFA, which is the highest license you can get. So I said, with that kind of a background, that he should be allowed to develop a structure for Nigerian football. I wasn't just looking at his coaching abilities on grass. I was looking at it more in a book form, in an academic situation, where he should be given that chance to develop our football on paper.
And let's see what he can do.
And let's see what he can do with that. I mean, and that.
But what do you think happened, really, Prof?
Well, look, it's a football federation. Look, they spend government money. They're least interested in development. They disrupt everybody because it's about them. I keep saying that until the government changes the structure of sports funding in that country, that allows people that really can go out and look for money, and not people that rely on government funds.
Yeah.
Look, it's what I've said. Only say no Nigerian coach, and I would say it again, no Nigerian coach should be paid 5 million naira a month. None. Because you're spending government money. And I'm willing to debate that with anybody, because I'll tell them that John Calipari of Kentucky earns $6 million as a basketball coach. But he's not being paid by the state of Kentucky, because he cannot earn more than the governor of Kentucky. So he's not being paid by the state of Kentucky, even though Kentucky is a state university. The sports industry or the sports business of University of Kentucky is outside the school budget. So that's why they can pay him $6 million. And we have to get that kind of understanding. I have friends that are number 2, number 3, number 4 persons in MTN, in Etisalat. They don't make 5 million naira, and that's a private business that is actually doing something. And you're using our government money to pay some football guy 5 million. Let him go.
All right. So you're talking about that now. We hear that him resigning came on the rumor. Is it a rumor? Someone said that. Actually, I think Babangida said that he heard that they were planning to get someone else to hire someone else.
We do that all the time. The Football Federation or the football administrators have always done that. For some reason, there are people in Nigerian football that believe a foreign coach will do the magic. Yes, a lot of our successes have been with foreign coaches. Westerhoff's assistant and all that, winning the Cup of Nations, winning the gold medal at the Olympics and all that. These were foreign coaches. But look, I actually believe that if we need a foreign coach, they should be at the younger level, because that's where football development is. And I don't think that any foreign coach now can really take us anywhere, because we just don't have good players. We need to develop players, and that's where maybe a foreign coach can be of help. Not at the senior level. You can go bring Moreo today, and then look, Brazil, Germany, the teams, countries that really have a good football foundation
and have been working on themselves.
Would always beat Nigeria.
Anyways, that being said, we understand that, just after he resigned, NFF appointed Samson Siasia, Yusuf, and Amunike as caretaker coaches for the Egypt clash. They released a press statement to confirm Samson Siasia, Salisu Yusuf, Emmanuel Amunike, and Aloy Agu as the 4 coaches that will act as caretaker coaches in Nigeria's upcoming AFCON qualifiers double-header match with Egypt next month. Nigerians were still like, okay, this is still a shock. Let's see how that goes. Some are pro Olise, some are against him. And I just saw this morning that he says that there's this also talks that he was paid 20 million naira before his resignation.
Look, when I first heard that,
Lisa is threatening to sue the NFF and says,
let me
that
say
didn't
this.
happen.
Let me say this. When I heard that the NFF said they actually paid him 20 million naira the day before, I said, good for him. I mean, if you're owing me and I want to resign,
and you do that,
I'll stick around.
Oh.
And when you pay me, I'll resign.
I'll just resign.
Look, why would I resign and then we'll now drag it again and all that? So good for him. But now he's saying they didn't pay him. Now, the NFF, if they should release what? What I've always said, there's always documentation for everything. If you paid someone,
let's see the proof.
Just snap the transaction, the bank transaction.
Let everybody see.
Let everybody see. You don't need to. We just need to see Olise's name. We see half of the numbers of the account, and we see the 20 million. That's all. And a Union Bank or whatever bank. That's all we need to see.
That's all we need.
We don't like all this that we paid him with mouth.
We don't want that.
We don't want that. Show it. And like he's right. If they didn't pay him, I would also sue. You can't damage my name. I would sue and get a few more $1 million. The one you owe me, plus the one the government, I mean, the judge might say you should pay me. All
right, it's still Dawn on MBC this morning. Glad to have you join us. My name is Oluwani Shola. Don't forget you can join in on the conversation by calling our phone lines and, of course, tweeting at us. When we come back from our music break, we will be sharing so much more. Yes, we still have about 20-25 minutes till the end of the show. Like I said, we might be joined by a guest. So much more to come for you this morning on Dawn. Please stick with us.
The princes and all the people said to the priests and the prophets, those in power, number priests and the prophets, sorrow. Ẹ̀rọ́jú olè ẹ̀ ò mú, ọmọ yín ò ṣàgbàfọ̀. Òun káṣọ wálé, ẹ̀rọ́jú olè ẹ̀ ò mú o. Your father is not a washerman. I mean, your son is not a washerman. He's not a dry cleaner. He's bringing huge clothes home. You don't know he's a thief. Something is wrong with you. When your cousin is a local government chairman who was selling pepper and tomato before he got there, and all of a sudden now he's building his second house on Allen Avenue. Ẹ̀rọ́jú olè ẹ̀ ò mú, ọmọ yín ò ṣàgbàfọ̀. Òun káṣọ wálé, ẹ̀rọ́jú olè ẹ̀ ò mú o. Your member sits on the board of a bank. He brings you 1 billion one-time offering. And you're saying, praise the Lord, hallelujah. Ẹ̀rọ́jú olè ẹ̀ ò mú, ọmọ yín ò ṣàgbàfọ̀. Òun káṣọ wálé, ẹ̀rọ́jú olè ẹ̀ ò mú o. We are not against legitimate earnings. The blessings of the Lord makes rich and does not add to sorrow to it. But when you rob the bank to build the church, it's called Akaldema, the field of blood. It doesn't matter how many kilometers and how many thousand-seater capacity. Okay, I've lost you. Ẹ̀rọ́jú olè ẹ̀ ò mú, ẹ̀rọ́jú olè ẹ̀ ò mú, ọmọ yín ò ṣàgbàfọ̀.
Welcome back. That was a very short clip of Reverend Tunde Bakare, very popular. Actually, he was one time a vice presidential candidate with the present president of Nigeria, Muhammad Buhari. For those of you that don't speak a lot of Yoruba, but you know, the song he was singing is pretty funny and just an illustration of what really happens in Nigeria. People make money from a source that you are not supposed to be able to get that kind of money, and we don't question it. What he's really saying is that we don't question the source of people's wealth in our country. But Reverend Tunde Bakare, that's a very, very nice clip from him and all that. But let me say, we just said that's Reverend Bakare, but on set with me now is not Nishola, it's Reverend Ladi Thompson. Welcome.
Pleasure is mine.
Reverend, just make a slide, before I even continue with the introduction, what do you think about what Reverend Tunde Bakare just illustrated about our culture?
Well, I must say that Reverend Tunde Bakare represents a vintage of a particular generation, a crop. And I think his forte is the ability to dramatize situations. However, if there's going to be a future for Nigeria, we are going to have to go beyond the dramatization. I, for instance, did a study for about 15 years, multidisciplinary study, on why we do what we do. You see, Nigerians, like most Africans, are a processed people. There's a predictability in the things that we do. We need to come to a point where we realize that the way money is embezzled in Nigeria is symptomatic of a psychiatric problem. You see, it's very abnormal for anybody to loot $2 billion. I mean, what are you going to do with it? But what they're doing is instinctive. It's part of a program that has been put into us. I have an audiobook called The Devil's Arithmetic. And what I try to point out, in America here, there are some people who have done studies on post-traumatic slavery syndrome. Now, the post-traumatic slavery syndrome, if you dig a bit deeper, you will find out that these are just symptoms of an equation, a program that is still running in the generations of Africans and African Americans.
That's great. I mean, I know I said I just wanted you to make a comment on that, and then while you were talking, it flashed out there, your name, and that you are a security consultant.
True.
Working mainly in Nigeria. You actually specialize in counter-terrorism.
Yes.
Now, obviously we have a terrorist problem with Boko Haram in Nigeria. Where has been the fault, really? Why hasn't this been? I mean, I know we're debating today, especially because of the new government. Is it under control? Is it out of control? Whatever we're doing, is it working? If the government were to bring you in, and we'll get to what, other things later, but if the government were to bring you in now, where do we start from, and how do we really try to solve this problem? Because it's getting bigger.
Well, let me say quickly that in my work covers quite a number of states in Africa, actually. But looking at Nigeria, I remember that we began to warn about the rise of the Boko Haram from the year 1999, the year 2000. What I can say is this, is that because Africans, Nigerians, we are not into exactitudes. The handwriting was all over the wall. It had started a long time ago. It was just that it's like a disease that progresses from stage to stage. So I remember that by the year 2000, Barnaby Phillips from BBC, quite a number of people were with us when we began to tell Nigerians that there will be suicide bombings, that certain things are going to be happening will be commonplace in Nigeria, and that the things needful for it were being put into place gradually, but that they would not kill one person, neither would the bloodshed start until we reach that phase. So it's on record in media in Nigeria that we had been saying this from 1999. In fact, by 2007, people began to believe. By 2008, they began to believe. Now, the challenge is this. The resurgence of global terrorism merged with ancient strains that had existed in Nigeria all along, with certain sentiments. And because of the economic depressions and the tonality of life in Africa, the expression is a lot more brutal than any other part of the world.
Okay. So we bring in economics, the economic situation in Nigeria, into the picture now. Yeah. It's tough, to look at where we are. We talked about we talked about theft, or the way you talked about someone. What does someone need 2 billion? Why do you steal 2 billion? Money you can't use. All this is what obviously is ruining or has ruined our economy, because our economy is not based on anything but on government money, people making use of government money. And people, you just ended up with that. This leads to people that are desperate, going into terrorism and all that. Let's link economics again back to terrorism, and how can this be solved?
All right.
What are your thoughts on solving
my thoughts sometimes are a bit somewhat unorthodox about this. I'm very much aware of the concepts that are bandied around in Western, Western concepts of the link between poverty and the economy and terrorism. However, as an African who's a part of it, the first thing we like people to realize is that terrorism has a very strong ideological portent to it. What poverty does is that it makes you prone.
Almost
it makes you, available for it. However, Africa has a track record of being able to bear up in poverty. We're a people who have learned to share. Now, this brings me back to what I said about deeper studies. What I'm about to mention right now will not be found in any course right now in any college across the world. But until Africa turns and pays attention to this, we will forever remain the whipping boys of the world.
Okay, so what's your platform? What's the platform that you're using to bring out this? Look, you've mentioned quite a few outstanding things, that.
Yes.
Just thinking about it as an African.
Yes.
It's not new to me, but it sparks something.
It clicks.
Yeah, it clicks. So what's your platform?
Okay, let me put it like this. Right now, I need to say to us that for anybody who's been a part of the African experience, there's a predictability to us that we don't realize is a part of us. For instance, in Nigeria, I was in Uganda a few weeks ago as well, 55 plus years after the colonials left us, we drink more tea, we eat imported biscuits, we knot ties, wear suits, stockings, wigs in the tropical heat to speak phonetized English. Now, we do this because the colonials left, but they left an implant, a sophisticated machinery behind inside us, classical conditioning. And what that machinery does is that it goes beyond drinking tea and biscuits. It actually dictates the way we do politics. It dictates the way that we do religion as well. And it also is the reason why we consume so much and produce very little. And to arrive and to dig out this equation, you have to do a multidisciplinary search. It looks as if the people behind that equation deliberately spread it out across such that it's difficult to put your hand on your finger on that equation.
Before we continue, I invite Africans or Nigerians here in Houston. You all have our number. Give us a call, 713-340-7514, because I'm sure that some of you are really outstanding by what Reverend Ladi Thompson is saying. I mean, let's join in this discussion, but we'll take a quick break and we'll right back to conclude this discussion with Reverend Ladi Thompson. Welcome back. Still right here with me in the studios is Reverend Ladi Thompson, a security consultant, works out of Africa, but Nigeria in particular. He's a counterterrorism expert, and we've been talking about just not really about Boko Haram, but he's really giving what I would consider an academic view of how things are working in Africa, and that leads to some of the problems we have, just not in terrorism, but even in economics and all that. So let me go back to you. And just before we left, I talked about what's the platform, why are you here, what's driving you, and what's the next step for you?
Yes, one of the things that I do is that we watch out for Africa. We anticipate, we look at what's coming up and ahead, and oftentimes try to answer to it. Now, one of the reasons I'm here is that one of my last visits to Washington, we were here because an African nation had a big explosive problem. And the team that I came with, we were working out a few things. And the greatest disappointment, the greatest shock that we had was that what we were looking for took us like 9 months to achieve in the American system, when it could have taken us just 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Now, what was missing, the greatest ingredient that was missing and shocking to me was the fact that the millions of Africans, Americans of African extraction, who live in America, translate into zilch, into no influence practically. There's no united, cohesive, coherent, and effective voice for Africa in Washington. And because of this, there are a lot of insults, a lot of unanswered questions, inaccuracies that ought to have been answered for Africa that are just not being answered. And we must remember that America still remains one of the strongest, the last world power standing, and that it is unwise for African nations to sit and allow policies. When America sneezes, Africa catches a cold. And you see, it doesn't make sense that we have so many Africans here who are Americans, who have been a part of the American experience, and yet we translate into zilch in Washington. So what we've done is that we're working on an association whose job we're in the pursuit of what we call advocates for democratic republics in Africa.
Yeah, ADRA, you said.
ADRA, yes. Yeah. Now, what ADRA is all about is the fact that in Africa, a lot of people know that America is a democracy, but very few people realize that America doesn't work because it's a democracy. America works because it's a democratic republic. Mm-hmm. It's not just a game of numbers, but it's the fact that numbers have agreed to respect the rule of law.
Okay, so this organization you're trying to, are you just trying to
we're working on it.
You're working on it. It's going to do what? It's going to explain to people the difference in how, to get an understanding of how both work, and how this can start to affect Africa.
Well, let me put it like this. There are 5 things that ADRA is doing, and the public and the Americans will get to know. Now, 3 of them are an advantage to Africa. 2 of them are a major advantage to the Americans of African extension or extraction. So let me first start with the African end. Number 1, we are saying if we can promote the establishment of democratic republics in Africa, there'll be greater respect for the law, and things would be better, just like things work in America. That's number 1. Number 2, what we are saying is that based on research, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We're taking the American dream, we piggyback off the American Declaration of Independence, make it of global application, and derive the African dream. So we find out that a change agenda that does not have a vision and narratives to support it is a pipe dream. So what we're looking at here now is an African dream, which we know will be presented as a global dream. And thirdly, what we're doing is that the value to human worth that is in America here must be reflected across the whole of Africa.
Just because we're running out of time, those 3, especially this last one, the value to human worth, is one of obviously the bigger problems in Africa. We don't seem to value life. So decisions that we make is not to affect life in the real sense of life, but actually destroys. But you know what we will do? I don't know how long you're going to be in the country, but you're going to be back and forth and trying to build this association. Could you come back when it is set to take off so we can actually be part of the launch and promote? Beautiful. Because this is a great idea. Africans or Africans here living in America, we need to become a part of the system that can make some moves to have an effect.
Sure.
Right now, we don't. I mean,
Yes,
I know in our pre-interview or when we pre-discussion before the show, we did talk about some of the things that you were really surprised that we couldn't get through.
Sure.
We couldn't even get Boko Haram to be named as
an FTO,
and,
foreign terrorist
and that's
organization.
very bad. Anyway, look, Reverend Ladi Thompson, thank you very much for coming. We hope to see you very soon, and we wish this organization of yours, ADRA, a lot of luck, because we do need it here in America and in Africa. Thank you very much.
Pleasure's mine, sir.
People of Houston, Nishola is not here, as usual, to sign off and say that she remains Nishola Mafe Arashi. But again, I'll piggyback or copy what she normally says. I remain Patrick Omo Osagi. I hope to see you all here next weekend. Bye-bye for now.